Well, it's that time of the day. Yes, it's time for Talking Pints. And joining me today is a man I've known for some years. He served in Congress for many, many years for the Republicans, but he's got a new, exciting, controversial project. His name is Devin Nunes, and he joins me on Talking Pints.
It's great to be with you.
Devin, thank you for coming and joining us. Now, here you are, a guy that served almost 20 years in Congress. You've, risen to the head of the Intelligence Committee. You've done some big stuff. You've been involved in some big national stories, working with Donald Trump on this new project.
Yeah.
But really, you're just a country boy, aren't you, and a farmer?
That's correct. That's correct. Normally a wine guy, actually.
Right.
So I make my own wine, and look, this was a lot of people asked me, they were surprised that I left. But
well, you left farming to do politics.
Yep.
And now you're leaving politics to launch. I mean, you've left a job, relatively safe seat that you had, which you could have won year after year after year, and stayed there, into a really different world, a world of social media. Yeah. What makes you give up politics to do it? Yeah, well, it's because of what I learned. And I will say I am impressed with this view because you're not fake news. And I know this because this is real. It's real. In the U.S., it's always fake. All those backgrounds are always fake. So I laughed when I came in and saw that, because when I watched the previews of your show, or when I watch your show online, and I saw that, I said, no way he has a view like that. No, we do. It's
you've got everything. It's amazing. The Big Ben right there. It's incredible. So, look, here's what happened. I dealt with the Russia hoax, right, which is a total hoax. Involved your government also. I watched the total degradation of the Department of Justice. Because the Russia hoax happened here too. And it happened, that's right. Oh yeah.
And I was in the middle of all this. I was one of the people accused that, I'd working for the Russians and taken Russian money had backed the Brexit campaign. And it's all absolutely baseless. And it was the same. It was the same thing we went through, and I ran that investigation. We unraveled it. Now we had one case brought to Washington, D.C. D.C. jury let a guy slide. There's another prosecution that is coming up in October, trial. But here's ultimately what happened. In 2020, I wrote a little book about Countdown to Socialism, and I talked about the fake news media. But what made the fake news media was being put through a funnel, which was the tech companies, the social media companies, because everybody's getting their information on these phones. Little did I know when I wrote that little book that you were going to have the Hunter Biden laptop from hell, which the polling after the fact says, had they known that the Bidens were involved in this, they would have never voted for Biden and Trump would have won. So right there you had, election tampering. Then we find out that later, Zuckerberg, $419 million, that if any Republican would have laundered money like that and spread it out to go and harvest votes, I guarantee you would be being prosecuted right now by the Department of Justice. Slow down a second. When you say laundered money, explain what you... Yeah, what your allegation is. Any Republican would have been accused of laundering money. So what happened was there were a series of nonprofits that money went through and got pushed out into the toss-up regions of the country for voter engagement, voter turnout. I can promise you any Republican would have been targeted and investigated. But as far as we know, there was zero investigation. But much of this was done within very lax American electoral law. Absolutely. But these are things that we learned after the fact. Then we've had millions of Americans that were booted off. What you're saying is that Zuckerberg is running one of the biggest social media platforms in the world, if not the biggest. Yeah. Social media platform in the world, and that was no neutrality. Is that really your accusation against it? I think the accusation is there's multiple accusations. Number one, they booted off millions of Americans or shadow banned people. That's number one. All of them do it. They're all left wing. But the fact that you would give that amount of money, look, it's not unusual for people in politics, for business people and others to donate $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. Typically, it's done through the parties or super PACs. This was $419 million. Okay, this is real money. But that's not. So we learned that after the fact. And then I went around the country. Then of course they kicked off millions of Americans. They shadow ban people. You know what shadow banning is where you can't see the post. Which, by the way, I looked at your posts on some of the other social media platforms. No question, you and GBNews are being shadow banned. I've suffered from this for some time. Yeah. Without question. Yeah. So
then, of course, the big thing is they kicked Donald Trump off of all social media. So I went around the country in 2021 saying, this has got to stop. Like, we're never going to, have a safe democratic republic if we can't even communicate with basic communications. So I was running around in 2021 saying that, and then Donald Trump, calls me up and said, will you run this startup? And I said, absolutely, because here I was for 2 years saying this is the most important issue at the highest level. And the way that I got to that, what was really kind of the driver is I looked at the polling after 2000 in the 2020 election, and I saw several polls where you had a majority of the people in the United States believed, when they went to the polls in 2020 after we had spent 4 years investigating the Russia hoax.
Yeah.
And over half the people still believe that Trump and Republicans had something to do with Russia, and you and everybody else that was accused all around the globe.
Yeah.
If you were center-right, you were accused of being a secret Russian agent. And lo and behold, what do we find out? It was the Bidens that were in with Russia, Obama, the Clinton Foundation. So it's the fastest growing social media company.
So Truth Social, let's just get to this. Before I get to Truth Social, Twitter. So Elon Musk appeared to want to buy Twitter. There's now a court case coming up. Yeah. I mean, had Musk bought Twitter, and there's no doubt he genuinely does believe in free speech, perhaps there wouldn't be the need. But before you came along, we've seen Parler launch, we've seen Getter launch. What's different, and why the need for Truth Social?
Yeah, so I was one of the first guys to go to Parler and one of the first guys to go to Rumble, which is a video platform alternative. And so I learned about all this, and I learned about the shadow banning back in 17 and 18 when I was being, completely smeared by the fake news. So the difference is that we built this from the ground up. So we are reliant on absolutely no one, okay? And that's why we've built that slow. We're coming to the UK as our first country on purpose because we want to go slow.
So this is it.
Partially because of Brexit, by the way. Because we think that we think there potentially are issues in the EU because we know that we will be targeted because it's President Trump, because it's owned by conservative. So we chose the UK to roll this technology out, which, by the way, it's working phenomenal. I've been here for the last couple of days. We just want to make sure that
you sort of had you sort of gently unveiled it, but you're launching it right here now,
right here on your show.
So if people want to go and look at Truth Social, they can find it right now.
TruthSocial.com. And the Apple App Store, and we are soon, hopefully, to be in the Google Play Store. But even if you have an Android, you can go to TruthSocial.com. So the real difference is this. We can't be canceled by anyone. We're not going to sell your data. We are not going to censor for politics.
They all say that. They all say we're not going to sell your data.
Yeah.
You mean it?
But we mean it, yeah.
All right.
Not sure anybody would even buy our data.
All right.
So, it's a joke.
But there's always a market.
Yeah.
So how are you different from, say, Getter?
Really, all these platforms are, try to do the same thing, all about social networking. What we're trying to do, our goal, our mission, President Trump's mission, is to open the internet back up, give the people their voice back. So when I came in, we started to look. So it's not just enough to we don't want to just be Twitter. And I've told people, look, if Musk buys Twitter, great. If he can't get it can't possibly get any worse. What we're looking at is the best of all the platforms. Now, what do we know? We know Twitter, not a lot of people are on there except for celebrities. You take Facebook, older generation. Instagram is kind of that 25 to 55. A lot of younger women are on Instagram. They like it. And then, of course, kids are on TikTok.
Yep.
So we're trying to take the best of all those platforms and put them into one where we don't censor for politics and give people a good user experience.
But it's very much, Devin, it's very much Donald Trump's platform.
He's the owner of the company, absolutely.
Is he still on the board? I mean, I've read all sorts of, and I never know what to believe and not believe. I know the launch was very controversial. It was done through a SPAC, this sort of new Wall Street idea. The share price rocketed, the share price fell. There's all sorts of talk of federal investigations. What can you tell me about that? So I think
the key to remember is that we're a private company. We're in a privately held company. And like anything, what we've said, I've been through all these investigations for many, many years. You want to investigate us? Fine, go ahead. I mean, we're an open book. We have nothing to hide. We have a very simple mission, right? Open the internet back up, give the American people their voice back, and ultimately people around the world.
Is Trump still as committed
So what you
to
have
this?
to remember...
Is Trump still as committed to this?
Oh, my God, yeah. He's on there all the time. He loves the platform. I spoke to him multiple times yesterday. And he's one of our... Well, he has the largest following on the platform. So what you have to remember, just like when I walked in here and I said, oh, my God, this is real. This is not fake out here. That's really the Big Ben right there. When you read in the United States all of what I call the fake news, it's 95% of the news. You have to look at it, you have to see through the fog. And so when you do any search of True Social, if you see it's one of the mainstream, corporate or owned networks, you have to know that it's not true. I mean, there's so many stories out there about us. I mean, the truth of the matter is that it's unbelievable. We are the fastest growing social media company in the history of the planet.
All right, so how many users do you have now?
So one of those issues that we don't get into, but what I can tell you is President Trump is over 3.5 million. Anyone who is on Twitter and on Instagram, if you're a major content or even medium-sized content creator, you get more engagement on our platform. Like I can promise you, and GBNews, because I checked it all out before I come on the show, you will be getting more engagement on our platform in a matter of a couple months.
Well, it's a big sales pitch.
It's a big sales pitch. By a long way. And it won't even be close.
I would expect it.
It won't even be
close.
Now,
I was out in Mar-a-Lago at the end of April. And I'm coming out to CPAC in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll be there together.
In Dallas.
Looking forward to it.
What's it like working for Donald Trump?
It's been very, very easy, quite frankly, because all he wants is the same thing that we all want.
He's quite exacting, isn't he?
Well, we want the platform to work, right? We just want it to work. We want to give the people their voice back, and it's a gratifying job to be in because we have seen so many people. We have the best meme makers. We have the best. People do these little videos, and these people are people that have been banned off of social media, right? Or they were banned or shadow banned.
Yeah.
So it's just been incredible to watch just how people are finding each other again.
So you don't get...
Like people that, oh, wow, I used to see you on Facebook like 3 years ago. What happened to you? That happens every day on our platform. And it's going to happen here in the UK. You watch. There will be people who have been booted off, supporters of center-right, no matter what party. They've been booted off of, I guarantee you, of all of these what I call tech tyrant platforms.
So you're making progress. We're not to believe all the horrible stories we read in the newspapers.
Never believe.
And Donald Trump is not roasting you down the telephone on a regular basis.
No.
I don't believe you.
No.
He's a guy with strong convictions. He's not an easy man to work for. But
you know what? Honestly, he is.
Really?
He wants it to work. I've had no issue. I've had no issue whatsoever. He works all the time, right? But I work all the time. So, he's a 7-day-a-week guy. He doesn't, he goes to bed late, gets up early.
Yeah.
And he's always on. And I mean, look, it's been really for me, I was as you started out with, I was an ag guy, farmer, worked long hours before I went into Congress. Congress, I used to say, was a lot like being on the farm, except the BS was just a little bit different. And then, and coming back out, I mean, look, I wouldn't know it any other way, right? But to work 24/7. And I think that's what President Trump demands. And look, it's necessary. This is not, I don't view this as a job. This is a mission. Like what we're doing every day, like I have to tell our team every day, like, guys, we got to get this done because people are counting on us, right? And people are counting on us. We're the only game in town that's going to give people their voice back.
Something has to change. Devin Nunes, thank you for joining me on Talking Pints. Pleasure.